This is what I want you to understand. The bottleneck is not your ideas. It's how they're being organized. Most people waste hours jumping from post to post. I create once and make every word work harder. In this video, I'm going to show you the exact system I use. What if your online presence was built while you were totally dialed in to your writing, to your preaching, to your leading and coaching, and they were created simultaneously? Your calendar would gain white space. You'd be proud of the community you were building, creating online, and showing up consistently to engage with that audience. And isn't an effortless, organized process for building and growing your online presence what you really want? As a thought leader, you're always creating long-form content. And what that means is you're creating a gold mine of messaging, potential articles, future video clips. While you're working in your zone of genius, you're actually laying the bricks for your online presence. And what that really means for you is that you already have everything in place to create a very robust online presence. I'm Jordan Alvarez, a strategist, educator, and artist, and I help leaders with something to say turn it into a brand that connects and a system that scales. You're listening to The Modern Pencil, a space where we break down what it really means to communicate with timeless clarity, the kind that's rooted in truth, shaped by your values, and built to last. And then we pair it with modern methods. The tension thought leaders feel when creating online is real. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You're on the backstage of just nailing a keynote. You spent hours formatting the exact arrangement, the phrases, the delivery, the engagement with your audience, and you know you had the audience eating out of the palm of your hand. You've even closed a few of those attendees and turned them into your clients. And you're floating as you get back home. You're back into the swing of things, a new work week. You sit down in your office, you get on your computer, and you're ready to post something from the weekend, some tips, some aha moments, some little tidbits from conversations you had with attendees. And you realize 15 minutes have gone by and you've stared at a blank screen, a little blinking cursor in the top of your screen, absolutely, totally drawing a blank. You're stalled and you just don't know how to fit deeper ideas into a format that was made for speed and swipes. Or maybe you have we'll call her Tiffany. You have a terrific TikTok Tiffany on your team, and she has got your back with the reshares, with the reels, and every time you scroll, you see your own face because she's on top of it. She knows what she's doing, and she's got her content scheduled and out there. But it's strange because people online just don't seem that interested. And the bottleneck isn't your ideas. This is what I want you to understand. The bottleneck is not your ideas. It's how they're being organized. All of the various social platforms, with the exception of less than a handful, are designed for short form on demand. It is the fast food expectation. So you're trying to deliver up some 5-star Michelin meals and people are wanting fast, quick tidbits. The blank at the top of the screen, the little blinking cursor telling you another second has gone by with no content to share, the feeling like your brain has gone on vacation and it has left the building when it's finally time to sit down and show up and create, all of that is coming from you putting on the creator hat when you should be wearing the curator hat. I'll give you an example. I love and thrive in watercolor and acrylic. I love those two paints. I will paint on canvases. I'll paint on various types of watercolor paper. I love using those two types of paint. But let's think for a second, what would happen if every day, week in and week out, I sat in front of a huge slab of marble that you or whoever was intending I carve up into a statue. But here's the kicker. I don't have any of the tools to actually do the carving, to create the statue. I tap around the edges maybe with my watercolor brushes, or I fill up my water tins, or I sort through various papers and canvases. I clean out all of my things and get everything prepped. This is art, right? I should be able to show up, use the same skills and tools on this other art form, on this marble slab, right? No, you know that's wrong. To properly chisel away at the marble, to brush and detail out all of the features, to work toward an end goal of what I actually want my statue to look like, I need totally different tools. I need a totally different setup. I need a different roadmap for my end goal. I'm hopeless with my watercolor and acrylic tools. But I'm just sitting there every day in front of that marble with my watercolor brushes and tins of water, but I'm not going anywhere. And so many of you, because you know how to wear the creator hat for your long form pieces, you are sitting in front of social media and wearing yourself out, attempting to create. You're using the wrong tools for the art form you're trying to accomplish. And even if you do get something out into the interwebs, into the algorithm, it lacks strategy and organization. People may want to work with you, but they have no idea what to do next because your content hasn't been strategically leveraged in a workflow that will produce revenue. So in this video, I'm going to teach you with a strategy at the end how to change out your creator hat and put on your curator hat. Let's talk for a second about curation. Curation just means to select, organize, or look after items that are already in a collection. The artifact curator, or the art show curator, or the museum curator, their job is to look at all of the pieces of the museum, everything that the museum owns or everything that the artist produces, and ask, what is the story here? Maybe it was an early civilization of people who learned to farm on the banks of some major river. The curator, because they want attendees to come in and to understand a story, to really get in the head of these people. They pick and choose pieces of pottery, and they choose tools, and maybe they rebuild a replica of the houses they lived in along the riverbanks. They might create pathways that follow along the river to symbolize how they walked to gather water or food. And they're doing all of these things. Story. They want you to know the story of this people group. What the curator does is they delight in building a story from the pieces that the museum has in order to lead their viewer from maybe not knowing anything about this people to now understanding who they really are and what they really did. Now, on the flip side, if all of those same pieces that the curator strategically picked out, strategically selected, strategically placed, were spread and displayed all throughout the museum, scattered throughout different areas, different time eras, different regions of the world, we would be lost. We would be absolutely confused. There wouldn't be a story. There wouldn't be messaging. It'd be an artifact all by itself, randomly placed in a room with a lot of other randomly placed artifacts. Certainly not a delight that invites us into a story. So you, as the curator of your media, should be creating your own art show, your own living story of where you want to take your clients and the future you want for them. So with our curator hats on, we are going to pick and choose pieces of our media that tell the story, or this is just a little hint. Another way to say this is your messaging, and you can look at the last video I posted. I'll add a link in the description below, but it tells you all about building your messaging and how to extract that from your work. This is taking your messaging or your story and delivering it to your people. So let's talk about method. What is the method for taking your long form piece of content? Maybe it's your weekly podcast or your weekly video, your sermon, your keynote, your teaching material. How do we take that one piece of content and turn it into multiple pieces of content that are small and bite-sized and perfect for those people looking for you on social media? When you have that ecosystem in place, it will take about an hour a week to create 7 days of content. That's reels, podcast audio, static posts, carousels, quote cards, follow-up email. And I'm talking everything within that, the graphics, the descriptions, the scheduling. The main pieces of long-form content I'm working with are normally like 45 minutes to an hour. So this method is repeatable with any length of content, but you want it to be more than about 10 minutes. It realistically could produce weeks worth of content depending on your topic or the length of your material. For this video, I'm going to stick with how much I can realistically produce from one piece of long form in an hour a week. So let's get started. Here is the ecosystem. We're going to start with E. E is for extract. You want to extract the main ideas from your piece of content. The next letter is C. You want to take chunks of that content. The next letter is H. You want to highlight the main things from those chunks. And O, you want to make sure that your output is refined and you know exactly where these pieces need to be online. You're just taking and reusing all of the things you've already done research on, ways you've already studied, put the work in preparing this piece of content. Giving your audience an exact idea of who you are and what your business stands for. If all of these pieces of content really aligned well with that message you found throughout your whole body of work, that thread that runs through, that belief that drives a lot of the reason you work, if that messaging was tied to these pieces of content week after week, your online presence would be scroll stopping. And that's what I want for you. So use this system to implement your own content strategy in your day-to-day. When you get it set up, it'll flow so easily week by week. That's all I have for you today. But if you'd like to work together and see if we'd be a good fit, you're welcome to schedule a call below. I'll leave the link to my calendar in the description. And remember, make marketing kind.